Thanks for joining this episode of The Blade Boys. I'm Ted Flett.
And I'm at Das.
And we are diving into our analysis of the Japan Open. We're going to talk now about the men's event. And Myth, we saw another gangbusters blow the hinges off or blow the roof off the stadium performance by a Japanese man to win the event and help project the Japanese team to the top of the podium. What did you think of Shoma Uno?
I think Shoma Uno, like I remember him last season. He is the World Junior Champion from last year and won the Grand Prix final and had a fantastic skate at Four Continents, where he placed fifth. And he's a superstar in the making. Like he reminds me so much of Daisuke Takahashi in his in the fluidity of his movements and the softness of his landings. He has some really neat moves that are kind of signature to him, like his double axel, triple flip series. And now he's added a quad to the mix. And not just one quad, two quads. And not just two quads landed in different halves of the program. So
Crazy.
it's nuts. And his triple axels were also fantastic elements as well. He scored about 100 points in technical elements. And the only people who have done that are Patrick Chan and Yuzuru Hanyu. So, like, he is already there in terms of, like, technical element scores. So he ran away with this competition. I don't think he was as solid on his landings as I've seen him in the past, but he got the job done and didn't just get the job done. He turned it on, especially in the second half of his program, where he showed some great passion and energy. And he should be super proud of this. He took out Patrick Chan. He took out the current world champion, Javier Fernandez, and former world champion, Brian Joubert, who unfortunately did not do very well in this competition. But hey, we love you too, Brian. It still looks good. And and he cemented himself as like one of the top Japanese guys. And that's so important this season because there's only two spots for the Japanese man. We're living in the Twilight Zone right now. There's only two spots for the Japanese man at Worlds next year. So, like, it is going to be a dog fight come nationals. And good on Shoma for already establishing himself as at least the number two. Could be the number uno. See what I did there?
Nice.
But, I mean, this is a very strong state. Like this is a very strong statement to make. Like this is
he gave notice that he means business this season and he's ready to rock and roll. You wonder if he sort of like a lot of other younger skaters when they burst onto the senior ranks, he doesn't really fully comprehend yet what he's done and what sort of a statement he's made. And as that sort of permeates and as that sinks in, he might then start to seize up, which would be unfortunate to see. I do think he needs a new costume. I like the program. I like Turando, but dress like a leprechaun really doesn't lend itself to the program. So he needs to pick up
unless you're doing like Irish music. Unless you're doing Irish music like Jason Brown.
This
like,
ain't Riverdance.
Yeah, that works, but like not so much when for Turando. But
yeah.
But
this ain't Lord of the Rings. Yeah. Riverdance. So.
Yeah, but
and I think that I think it'll be interesting to see how he unfolds this season and sort of if he's able to maintain this kind of momentum that he's set so early, and particularly with his Grand Prix events that he's competing in.
Yeah, and this is his first Grand Prix season. Hard to believe that, like, you know, busting out two quads and two triple axles and like not a lot of guys. I mean, Nathan Chen is doing it on the Junior Grand Prix this year, but like to come out with two quads and two axles. I'm sure the Japanese crowd also helped, and he was just, you know, itching to give that breakthrough performance. But we rarely see a performance of this magnitude so early on in the season, especially at Japan Open, where skaters are just trying to, find their legs and get comfortable with their programs. He's already like shown that he's not just willing to compete with the big guns. In my mind, he's already established himself as one of the big guns. Last year, I think because he was a junior, the judges held him back on component scores. and as a result, he just didn't get as high as he probably would have if he had had his de facto one season under your belt. So we're going to give you higher scores anyways, which everyone gets. But this competition, I think he was still overscored. I think 86 points of component scores was too much for this program. I would have loved to see a little more of the passion that he exhibited towards the second half in the first half. Obviously, when you're trying to reel off quads and triple axles, it's hard to like do that and still maintain focus. But he has some very nice qualities to him. He has his speed has improved a lot. He has great quality of edge. I think I compared him to like Daisuke Takahashi. I think he has that sensitivity to pick up nuances in the music and ride that edge just a little bit longer to like really show that he's in control of his programs. And I can't wait to see what he does. I believe in 2018 he's gonna be one of those contenders for that Olympic gold medal, because already to pull 185 points, even without home scoring, like, and some of the GOE and stuff, it would have been 180, which is still very, very competitive. He's established himself as a huge threat this season, and I can't wait to see if the other guys are able to sort of step up and match that.
Yeah, and speaking of the other guys and who can step up and match that, the world champion was second ranked, Javier Fernandez from Spain. It was our first chance seeing his programs. I was fairly impressed with his outing. He singled and had a really wonky axle, so abandoned that. But,
that looked like a choreographic axle.
2 quads in the program.
It's like totally. It's what you do during a footwork sequence, like, you know, during a footwork sequence, how they do a kick sometimes. Like, it kind of looked like that. I'm like Javier, you just start your choreographic sequence now. Nobody will notice, and just throw the axle.
Yeah,
and later on,
totally. Throw a couple 3 turns. Throw a couple 3 turns at the end of that. They'll never know it was supposed to be a jump.
I mean, choreographic sequences
so it's
are like
it's more sort of showmanship from Javier this season, and clearly he has found a vehicle or sort of a style of skating that works for him. There's a part of me that kind of thinks, it would have been good to try something different and maybe push your boundaries a little bit. There's more sort of suspender pushing, toe tapping business. But obviously, at this, or maybe not obviously, but at this level, it does seem that this is a program, this is a style of skating that really works for Javier and allows him to skate to his potential, which of course he wants to do this season, as U0 mounts a challenge to regain his world title. Patrick Chan's back on the scene, now of course Shoma's in the mix, and perhaps others. So I think this would have been a good season to experiment with something different, because I don't think he can continue this sort of showmanship bravado style free programs all the way up until 2018. I think the judges are going to suffer from fatigue. However, it works for him, and he's exhausting it.
Yeah, I mean, Javier is always a pleasure to watch because he knows how to truly engage an audience. And like I said, I love skaters who make skating look like a performance, and like it's not just reeling off a bunch of elements and trying to win. Like, he puts on a show, and that's what I love about Javier. I agree with you. I think that this, I don't want to call it a shtick, but like he really knows his style. It's his style. His style is this performance, kind of like fun, yeah. Like, he needs to do something classical just to show that he has that breadth and that range. He's done like tangos and Spanish stuff in the past, but then again, I guess that might be a little expected, and not just because he's from Spain, but because like a tango is very easy to do attitude and stuff, and he does a lot of character pieces as well, which are a lot harder to interpret than like, say, like a piano piece from like Patrick Chan but like Javier still nailed his 2 opening quads. His third quad didn't happen, his axle didn't happen, but this was still a very strong performance. His series was good. His spins were a little bit iffy, but like, again, it's early in the season. I mean, I think he's one of those skaters who focuses a lot on the jumps and the performance. So this was a really good performance for him, but in order to like compete against somebody like Chan or Hanyu or Dennis Ten, who is also like developing this really clean, smooth sensibility about him. He's gonna have to. Uh, he's gonna have to at least try it once. Whether it's next season, I would love to see it next season. Even a short program like for him to do something classical and something soft. I know it's not his style, but one other reason I want to see that from him is because with these kind of comedic programs and like these kind of like bravado type pieces, he can sort of afford to like flop out of something, and it's just kind of like, oh, it's part of the character and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
it's
right?
sort of, yeah, it's masked
So
as
it
part
does
of the program.
it
Yeah.
kind of masks moments where he gets out of control, and I find that he's better at controlling himself. I mean, you're world champion, so clearly you have some control on your blades. So, like Yuzuru did with his short program, like last year, where it was more nuanced and more subtle to show I can really bring out the qualities in music and not just be a performer, but also be like that real artist. I think Javier still has to just elevate himself to that step of how can I really show myself off as not just a showman, but also this artist. And he totally has it in him. I think he does. And I think when he ultimately, inevitably, hopefully, will do that classical piece, we're gonna all be like, whoa, like Javier, this is a neat side of you, like, and he's capable of doing that. That's kind of the frustrating thing, that like, oh, we know you can do it, but it's a bit selfish as fans to want to always see new and weird
Yeah.
and unexpected things, whereas like he's also trying to win. So it's the battle between, do I try something new or do I try something that I know that works, right? And when you're defending world champion, you definitely want something that works
And
first
you
and
have to
foremost.
wonder with, yeah, and you have to wonder as well with a skater like Javier, although he's got, great mentorship with Brian Orser.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unlike, the Japanese men, so Yuzuru can sort of, there's a legacy now of men's skating in Japan. So a Takeshi Honda or others can give him, can give Yuzuru tips or thoughts and some advice. And same, of course, with Canadian men. I mean, when Patrick Chan became world champion, he sort of joined that club with Jeffrey Buttle and Brian Orser and Kurt Browning and Elvis Stoico and others. And Javier is the first known Spanish skater. There's none of that. There's none of that sort of sport infrastructure or intel set up for him. In terms of his own, from his origin country, from his, who can speak his language literally, and so that's all new for Javier now to cope with. What is it like to be world champion? What is it like to be world champion when your sport is hardly even a speck on the dot on a map of Spain? And I think this season is really going to help to develop and evolve Javier, perhaps not necessarily as an artist, but as a skater, as the world champion. He really had problems last year in Barcelona at the Grand Prix final in the short program and redeemed himself in the long, unprecedented in any other sort of 2 years back to back in the Grand Prix final. The finals returning to Barcelona, so he gets a chance to take a second crack at, okay, what is it like? Now I remember what it's like to skate at a major event with the other big guns. This is assuming he qualifies for the Grand Prix final, mind you, which maybe I shouldn't get
Hopefully he will.
But
I'm sure a lot of Spanish fans are waiting for him.
cross my fingers.
And they're a
if he
great
does,
audience.
It will be a great opportunity for him to take another shot at skating in front of a home crowd against the other big guns in the sport. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Of course, the third place finisher in the men's event was Patrick Chan from Canada in his competitive, sort of major competitive return. What do you think of Patrick's skate, man?
So there's two categories, as I said, in the ladies. There's two categories of skaters who showed up at the Japan Open. There's the guys and gals who came to really make a statement and like compete, and then there are the skaters who are getting a feel for competing again and getting a feel for getting their programs out there. And Patrick, I'm pretty sure his focus here wasn't to win. His focus here was to get his program under wraps. I mean, he didn't do a triple. He didn't attempt his sequence. He only attempted one quad, which he tripled. He still hung on to the triple axel, which is kudos to him because normally that's a huge problem jump for him. But the point was he exhibited some glorious choreography, and I think that program this year is a great vehicle for him, that Chopin program, which has very nice nuances in choreography, lovely stops in the music, it ebbs and flows, it's unexpected directions, and the edge work is just so perfect. Like, he's actually improved, and he's already been like essentially the best in terms of like skating skills, and he's improved on that. So that's very positive to see. This was definitely about getting his program out there. He knew that like there'd be like Javier attempting 3 quads, and Shoma would Shoma was also a new competitor against Patrick. Actually, I don't think they've ever competed against each other. So Patrick was kind of doing his own thing. He must have been disappointed with his technical errors, like even simple things like the triple Salchow, like a hand down, or like doubling the flip. This is all stuff that is very reminiscent of a skater trying to get their program comfortable. Again, I'm sure he will be prepared come the Grand Prix. He'll have to be because he's going against Yuzuru Hanyu, so he's gonna have to get his skates under him pretty fast. But Patrick did make a statement saying, like, y'all can be the best jumpers right now at this point in time, but we still know who the best skater is at this point in time. And Patrick was absolutely captivating in that regard. Errors aside, it was a great competition for him.
Yeah, I wasn't, in terms of what he attempted technically, I wasn't too concerned that he only went after 1 quad, because I'm going to guess that once, the season really starts in terms of the Grand Prix events, or maybe not the Grand Prix events, but for nationals and for worlds, he'll resurrect the 2 quadruple jumps, which I think he'll need. I was more concerned about the triple axel. I really hoped that, you said it, this isn't a great jump for him. I would have hoped that in the year and a half that he's had off, that he really stripped that jump down and reconstructed it and figured out, what are the weaknesses in it and how do I improve on those? Because it became a much more inconsistent jump in the run up towards the Olympic Games than it had ever been. It maybe was never his best friend, but it wasn't his worst enemy as it was around the time of Sochi. And so I really think that he needs to get that jump. Now, he did attempt the triple axel. He didn't double it down, which he'll often do, and it was squirrely and got away from him, but he stayed up and he didn't put his other foot down or his hand down. I mean, so good on him. So maybe that is a sign of improvement. Yeah, he was fighting. He was like, I am not letting go of the triple axel.
Especially after quad air, to like maintain that focus. I think that was a good showing by him at a Quebec competition recently where he premiered his short program. In the warm-up, he landed his triple axel cleanly. So he's still capable of doing all these elements. It's just about maintaining that focus. And this time, his focus was probably delivering his program and getting a run-through in there and putting it out for the audiences, which is why when you double the flip, which is why the triple outs double toe. Like, it's, you make errors. You don't do the triple. It wasn't about the jumps this time. This was about the program. This was about really getting back out there.
I think he showed that he's still the class of the field. Myth, you use the term to describe him and his skating as glorious, and this program, I think you're absolutely bang on. It is a glorious program. His skating remains glorious. He has such sumptuous edges and positions and postures. It's great to see him back. He's the class of the field. Yeah. And once he gets the technical components under his belt, he will be the a world contender, if not, the favorite.
Yeah, I saw him at Stars on Ice earlier this summer. I had the pleasure of doing that, and seeing him live is a real treat. Like he as former skaters, like it's you really get a sense of appreciation for how hard it is to maintain that depth of edge and that control, and to generate that speed so effortlessly. Like that takes years and years and years of practice, and like 99% of skaters don't even get half as good as that. So like I think Patrick Chan's back, and I think that this he might not be guaranteed wins this season, but this season is about probably showing a new side of him that we might not have been able to see over the past or over the rest his past career, essentially, where he's won 3 world championships, where he's won 2 Olympic silver medals. Like he has nothing left to prove at this point. Yes, the Olympic gold medal is the elusive thing.
Yeah, he wants that gold medal.
He wants that gold medal. But I think I love when skaters come back and prove that, hey, I still have something more to give to the sport that isn't just about the hardware. It's also about showing myself a different side of myself, and I think that's what Patrick is really focused on this season.
Yeah,
along with
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think similar to Javier, I'm not sure this is a different side of himself, this particular program, but I think it's flawless and gorgeous, and the way he can defy what I imagine to be balance on the blade, the way he can defy gravity in terms of his positioning. I'll take more of it. More quintessential Patrick Chan is still more than enough. And the fourth place finisher, American Jeremy Abbott, who is being a bit coy about his Olympic aspirations or next move, but he's decided to take this season off. He came back to the Japan Open with last year's long program, which didn't give him a lot of love last year. So I was frankly a little bit surprised that he didn't either pull something else out of cold storage or tinker and choreograph something new entirely. Nonetheless, for him, he had a relatively good skate. What'd you think, Myth?
I thought he had a great skate for like he had a really iffy opening with the flip. Like I was like, oh no, like where's this going, Jeremy? But he pulled it together and he reeled off 2 clean triple axels. And I don't think I've seen him do a triple axel half loop triple sack out sequence. So that was a nice little move that I personally hadn't seen from him. I think the program was again classic Jeremy Abbott, very nice lines, very like introspective. Like it's not an outward program; it's very much draw the audience in, and that's what I love about his skating. I think he still has a lot of work to do, like in terms of transitions and getting that speed and that effortlessness across the ice that we were used to seeing from him. He has yet to get that back, but like it was really, really positive to see him nail both triple axels, and they weren't just like barely landed; they were like very, very secure triple axels. So good on him. Like that'll keep him as a contender. As Jason Brown shows, like you don't necessarily need that quad to still be a contender as long if the rest of your skating is sublime as Jeremy's is. And I think he's looking forward to the Olympics. He's kind of weighing his options right now, but as an interim performance, it's kind of like Patrick Chan last year, where he took the season off, but still had a wonderful performance in Japan, and that was a great showing from him. We're glad to see Jeremy's back. I mean, his Olympics was heartbreaking with that
horrible fall.
Yeah, the horrible fall. I mean, he managed to get a bronze medal in the team event. I mean, it wasn't his best skate either, but I'm sure he was able to put the Olympics past him and look forward. And I really like this program. I think it has potential. Again, he's probably the skater in the pool of skaters who are trying to get a feel for their programs and sort of get used to performing for an audience again, like in a competitive environment. So good on him.
I think when he does land the quad, it's a sublime jump. He's got great power and speed going into it, and particularly coming out of it. It's just that we don't see it very often. But some good glimmers of some exceptional skating by him this past weekend. And then in 5th place, the other Japanese skater, Daisuke Murakami.
Who did land quads.
He sure did.
So Daisuke Murakami landed both of his quad Salchows. He's shown really good consistency. In fact, I would bet that he's probably the most consistent quad Salchow skater. Maybe, I mean, there's Nam and there's Maxim Kodjin, who have also like landed quite a few quad Salchows, and Javier as well. But Daisuke Murakami, he's that Japanese skater that he's kind of like a Takahito Mora. Like he's kind of on the outside, like compared to like up and comers like Hanyu or Uno or even like sentimental favorites like Takahiko Kozuka. But he's delivered some really great skates, and I've seen some practices of him, and his basic skating is getting really, really nice and elegant. He's reminding me of another Japanese skater who unfortunately is retired to study, Tatsuki Machida, the world silver medalist.
I miss terribly.
We miss now. That's a Firebird performance. We love you, Gracie, but that's my favorite Firebird performance. Yeah. And
everything he skated to East of Eden. I've never seen a figure skater, a male figure skater, skate to East of Eden. And when the music started, I thought, oh, what is he doing East of Eden? And within about 30 seconds, I was completely transcended into his skating. He was phenomenal. I absolutely respect that he's pursuing school, but damn it all, competitive skating.
There'll always be YouTube. But
that's right.
Getting back to Daisuke Murakami, like he definitely emulates Machida in a lot of ways for me. So it's kind of nice to sort of see a Japanese skater with that sort of kind of like Jeremy Abbott, a little bit of an introverted, introspective style where you're more drawn in to his styles instead of like kind of performing and projecting and just like it's always nice to see that, and it's also very nice to see a great technician. And Daisuke Murakami, he was a great technician in this Japan Open. He unfortunately singled his axle, and he had an issue with one of his spins where it was brought down to like a base value. Like the level was lost, but that's just early season problems that you see with a lot of these skaters. I think most skaters, their spins, they're not quite there yet in terms of rotate. We saw it with Elizaveta. I mean, it happened to her too. Like they're testing their programs out at this point in the season. But for Daisuke to nail both quad salchows is wonderful for him. It shows that he's still got that consistency. And again, with Japan only having 2 spots at Worlds, he'll be one of those contenders who will be fighting skaters like Shoma, who, I think a lot of people might think Shoma will be the de facto number 2 after the skate because people tend to
I don't think Shoma's a shoo-in. Not with another skater on the team like Daisuke.
Yeah, I think
it's pretty open seals.
Yeah, people sometimes overreact after a single competition. They're like, "Oh my God, he just got like 186 points." So like he's clearly the winner. Like even with Mao and Elizaveta, like Mao's established herself as like a leading, but like the tables could turn at any point. It's skating, right? And depending on the day, a skater.
It's a long season.
It's a long season, and it's early in the season, but it's nice to see that Daisuke is doing well. Big shout out to Brian Joubert. I mean, unfortunately, he had an awful skate, but I think this was not about the competition so much as like getting back out there and performing for the fans. People love him in Japan. People love him everywhere because like, hey, he's a world champion, and he's a great skater. And it's really sad how towards the later end of his career, he would still put out fairly consistent skates, but the judges, he was one of those rare skaters where the judges actually started dropping his component scores, and I mean, deservedly so, because he didn't have the best programs, but I think he got kind of, the judges weren't really in his favor at that point, so it must have been very frustrating. But it was nice for him to come out and perform. I mean, he sort of got his second triple axel. He clearly wasn't there to compete in the sense that like his levels on his spins weren't there. He didn't even do like an 8th jumping pass, right? So he was there to perform for the fans, and kudos to him for like still showing that he's got it. And I mean, for any skater to lace up, let alone like attempt 2 triple axels in their program, still is still phenomenal. So kudos and hats off to him. Bien fait, Brian Joubert.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to wonder, sharing the practice ice with Patrick Chan. I wonder what their interaction is like. Of course, the
Yeah,
two of them had a lot of verbal sparring back in I think it was the 2008-2009
yeah,
season because Joubert had the quad, Patrick didn't, and yet Patrick was outperforming him.
yeah.
You wonder if all these years later, if that rivalry and that sort of the chip on the shoulder still exists between the two of them. If only to be a fly on the boards to
Right.
overhear that.
I
But
think
yeah,
they're a little
that's
more mature now about it.
I
But
wouldn't be so,
it's
I wouldn't be
skating,
so
right?
sure, Myth, but
We'll see.
you might think so.
We'll ask
Listen,
Patrick
that
and
wraps up our debrief and analysis of the men's event. Some really strong, brilliant striking skating, and some moments of brilliance from others that will hopefully continue to materialize over the course of the season, which we'll be watching here very closely.
yes. Yeah, this was a great event to kick off the men's season. Even the ladies' event, like Japan Open, is always a really fun event. It's kind of like a mini Worlds, and with some guest stars like Joubert and like Sotnikova coming back. So it was a great competition, and the Japanese fans, like, we love Japan. They're so knowledgeable. They're so like sweet and polite, and they make Canadians look like mean. That's how polite they are. So we're looking forward to a great season, and with a lot of these skaters turning up the heat so much already, it should be quite a battle for like leading up into the Grand Prix and Worlds in March. So if you want to follow us on Twitter and Facebook, please do, and subscribe to our channel where we're gonna keep trying to come up with updates for competitions, and you might see us at a couple competitions this year, like Nebelhorn, where you can check out our Nebelhorn videos as well on our channel. And the Blade Boys, like we're all about getting skating out there, and we're so happy to have some fans already. And please feel free to leave comments and tweet us, and we just kind of love hearing what your thoughts are on the Japan Open and what your thoughts are on the season as well. So here's to a great season, and here's the Blade Boys signing off.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.